Welcome. This is Impact 2022. I am your host, Nathaniel. This is our continuing conversation. So, for of you who have been here before, this is our conversation where we talk about all of the topics that we can, all variety of topics from current events, from race, from religion, just anything that we want to talk about, and everything that we possibly should be talking about. And as always, this is a continuing conversation. And so we ask that you type in your questions. We ask that you type in your comments into the comment section, that we can address them and that we can continue the conversation. And so, like every week, we're going to just hop right into it. Not going to do a whole bunch of pomp and circumstance. And just as a reminder, this week, unlike some other weeks, we don't have a guest. And so I'm going to rely on those of you who are participating live to type in questions and comments as well to keep the conversation going. And so let's hop right into it. No time to delay. If you haven't noticed, surprise, surprise, COVID is still here. And for some people, they think it's back. We've gotten to that false sense of security where we've sat back and we've said, well, the mask will come off. When you go to different stores, you don't see a lot of people with masks on. When you go to restaurants, you don't see a lot of people with masks on. The mandates have come down. You still see it in the schools, in many schools. Here, where we are in Virginia, you definitely see them still in the schools. I know my wife and son, both in the school systems, they still have to wear their mask all the time. But you don't see it. You don't see these masks like you used to. They're not around and they're not out like they used to be. And people have kind of let their guard down. Whoever was going to get the vaccine has gotten it. Whoever's not going to get the vaccine still hasn't gotten it. And we're in that state where we don't, we're not just as cautious as we used to be. I went to an event, multiple events this weekend, and pretty much at all of them, masks were optional and very, very few were seen. Me, because I'm a little bit more paranoid, every time I go to the grocery store, I have my mask on. And the only people who have their mask on with me are me, my son, and the people who are actually working there. But none of the not employees, but none of the people who are shopping or going to any of these restaurants or just stores and places of business have masks on. And so basically, as a whole, we have let our guard down. Some people have declared basically that this is over, that COVID is over. But surprise, surprise, the numbers are rearing back up and people are getting sick at an astonishing number, where people are still dying. And there's still numbers that report that over 1,000 people are dying each and every day. And we've talked about COVID over and over again. And COVID is the reason that, out of COVID, that's one of the reasons that we were able to start this program here, because people were separated, couldn't get in contact with each other, and we decided to come over the internet, over Facebook and YouTube, to connect with others. But COVID is back, as they say. It's still killing. It's still getting people sick. We've had some wonderful moves forward as far as technology and science and being able to combat it, but it seems like it's back. People are starting to get nervous again. Many people who were able to go to work and work in person, many of them are now being told, maybe you don't need to come back right now. Or, it went from optional to mandatory back to optional, and then a strong suggestion to stay home because the numbers are coming back. The numbers are ramping back up. We're talking about this specifically because for those of you who thought, all right, COVID is over now, I'm back out. Well, you have an opportunity again, or you're going to have your second go around, or your third go around, or whatever wave you want to call it, to address it again. And the question is, what are we going to do this time around? How are we going to do it differently? And specifically, the churches. Right? They have a comment here that says, I have 4 friends who currently have COVID. Yeah, it's crazy the numbers that are coming out. I've had multiple coworkers who have had COVID as well. And again, we had events planned and things going on, and basically at cautionary, you had to cancel stuff. Everybody was ready to bring everybody back and get together. And so one of the questions that we all have to ask ourselves is, what are we going to do this go round? How are we going to play it out differently? Even though COVID never ended, for some, it went down and now it's back up, and we have to decide how we're going to react again. How are we going to do things differently? And there's different aspects of this: the world, business, family and personal, and the church. For many of us in the church, unfortunately, COVID took us out and we have not recovered. There are people who have not been to a service since 2020, when COVID really started shutting everything down. There are churches who haven't met in person since 2020. There are churches who have been doing the hybrid thing. There are churches like ours here who have responded by being in person, but also making sure that there's a dedicated path for people who want to watch it over the internet, in whatever capacity, whether it be, again, Facebook, YouTube, the website. And many churches have gone that route as well, even as far as television and even further, and other little ways and mediums of able to get their message out. And so one of the questions that comes into my mind and into my head is, for those who haven't stopped, are you just going to continue what you're doing now that we are 2 years out from 2020, when everything was shut down? And because the numbers are going back up, are we going to continue to be away how we are? Or are we going to make a new or different push? We know that the negative results, and we've seen what the negative results are. And for those of you who may have not tuned in here or may have not heard before, the negative results have specifically been on the health, mental and physical and social health of individuals who have isolated themselves away from others. The lack of physical contact, the lack of emotional contact, and I'll say this, the lack of intellectual contact as well. When you get out of the house and you got to talk to those family members who are different than you are, or you have to talk to those friends or those coworkers who are different than you are forced to see some different views and opinions, and you're not going to be siloed into your own place. The number of suicides skyrocketed. The number of domestic violence incidents skyrocketed over the past 2 years while people were stuck into their houses and their homes. And so being aware of these negative consequences and these negative situations of being separated, what are we going to do this go around? As a church, we also know that for many of us, our numbers dwindle. And we know that people have not come back, not with the veracity of which they left. And so are we still going to stay in the state where we know that for most of us, our numbers are falling by the wayside because people need to come in person, or some feel that they need to come in person. Now that we know that these numbers are going to shoot back up, or we're going to just go back into the same, the same situation that we were in before, where, for those who were bold enough and brave enough to open back up their doors, are they going to close them back out? And for those who never really opened their doors back up for whatever reason, and really no judgment on that, are you going to just keep them closed and for another 2 years or however long it takes? And even furthermore, with this, what activities are you doing? Are you no longer a church and you're just a place that just has, are we not doing any more ministries? Are we not going out into the community? Are we not touching people and doing those things? Those are the questions that we have to answer and ask ourselves as the church. I dare say that, look, I am again, you heard my intro. I am the one at the grocery store with the mask. I'm masked up, even though most people are not. So I am not the one out here being extra brave, extra cavalier. I am the one who gets those weird looks from people. Like, man, you still masking up, and we ain't got a mask no more. Yeah, I'm that one. But at the same time, I'm not going to be that one that stays in the house and doesn't go out. Because that's been said many times by many people. You can go out and do the other things that you want as a church, while we can't go out, while we can't get together and not even just get together and go out, because there ain't no point in just, I'm gonna open my door so that we can have service, but we're not gonna do anything else with the community, and we're not gonna go and touch other people. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we got to continue to think of new, innovative ways and ideas to make sure that we connect with people, make sure that we touch people, make sure that we help people. This is not about, for me, it's not about the church growing or even our numbers getting smaller. It's about doing the work that we're supposed to do. Because when we sit back and we look at the number of domestic violence events, and we look at the number of people who, again, the rise in suicides, it's obviously some people out there who need to be touched and connected and need the church in their life. When you see some of the violent actions that are going on, because they said that the rise in gun violence, and again, it's because I believe that the church is not being able to be out and about and touching people the way that we used to. And it's our own fault. We're not doing what we're supposed to do. If we talk about sacrifice, one of those sacrifices may need to be our comfort level. Again, I'm the one wearing the mask. My comfort level would be to wear the mask and keep me and my family as safe as possible. But I have a responsibility to the community and others. Comment that says, hopefully because we are in the summer months, churches will offer outdoor services. That was a big thing last year, and hopefully that'll be a big thing this year. Because if we don't feel comfortable being indoors, at least we'll feel comfortable being outdoors, where people were having services in their cars and in fields and things like that, or just having services outside and social distancing with their chairs and whatnot. Hopefully that will be the first step. And then the second step will be able to continue doing ministry in whatever capacity that we can do. And even we even look forward with all of this going on. COVID is back, making sure that we do our response, and then boom, what happens? Monkeypox. And so now we have to deal with that. But the question or the genesis of what we're talking about today is we have a second chance to do this COVID thing better. It is just as deadly as it's always been, even though we have numerous medicines and vaccines and everything for it. It is just as contagious as it's always been. It is killing people and continuing to kill people. People are scared, and they continue to be scared, and their fear is rising as the numbers rise again. But we get to decide in 2022 what we're going to do that we didn't do in 2020, or if we thought that what we did in 2020 was great, then we're going to have to do it again. I believe. Now I could be totally wrong. Monkeypox could be nothing. The rise in COVID, maybe no one even really cares about it. But from the businesses and locales have started to raise their concerns again with changes in policy and changes in the way that they do things, to kind of go slightly back to a more conservative way of thinking about how we need to be when it comes to going out and doing things and not social distancing and getting together. We got to decide what we're going to do again, and how do we want to be. If we feel like we failed the first time around in a sense of, well, we kept our people safe, but we didn't get anything done. Well, then this time we can decide whether or not we're going to do that same thing. Look at our environment. Look at what's going on outside. Look at, again, the violence, gun violence. Look at the mass shootings that have taken place. Look at the negative discourse that has gone on when you see people talking to one another or talking about one another in the media and online and personal and face-to-face. Look at the situations of mental health, where there has been a strong concentration on the mental health of members of our society. Me as a Black male, especially, I'm looking at the pressures and the mental health of Black males, and we've seen some terrible situations. And again, look at the number of suicides. especially with young people and on the rise. Look at the mass shootings. You look at all of this and say, was our response the church? Was our response Christians? Was our response those who care for one another in society? Was our response to the pandemic the first time the correct one? And if we have to roll back some of these gains that we've had over in this pandemic, is our response going to be better this time going around? I truly believe that when you look out and you see some of the negative uh, happenings that have happened, it's a direct result of us pulling back. And our pulling back has allowed some of these things to explode and to fester. And it's a troubling situation. Real talk. If persons cannot attend, if persons can, I'm sorry, if persons can attend concerts inside or outside, there is no excuse for persons not to attend church. And there is no reason for churches not to offer in-person worship. Now, I believe that. And it's always been fun. People make excuses for why they can't go to church, but then they can do everything else. Somebody could be sick, and I've seen this. Somebody is sick and have gone to work Monday through Friday, just rolling to work sick. Oh, I feel terrible. You didn't work on Monday. You there on Tuesday. You there on Wednesday. You there on Thursday. You there on Friday. Sunday roll around. You done been to work all week. Sunday roll around. You be like, man, I'm too sick. I got to take a day. You ain't take a day Monday through Friday. But now Sunday you need to take a day. Same thing with this pandemic. Same thing when it comes to COVID. Same thing when it comes to people talking about their health. They're going to go to the grocery store. They're going to go to a concert. They're going to go to a cookout. Come Sunday, all of a sudden, now we need to be safe. I'm going to be online. But that's the way we roll. That's the way people have always rolled, unfortunately. But there's no excuse for that. And as nice as we want to be as Christians to one another, we do need to point out the hypocrisy of that, point out the irony of that. Not that we have to just throw it all in each other's faces. Hey, man, that's crazy. Why are you doing such and such, such and such? Just, it's a little ironic that, you can go here, but you can't go to church. And so, I do think that's a weird happening, that you can't have in-person worship. Maybe legal liabilities or whatever, or maybe you feel like what you're getting online is quality, is a quality experience. But as was said 2 weeks ago, there is one level of relationship, and then there's that next level of relationship. And so that one level of relationship is what we're doing here online and with one another. But if we want to take it to that next level is in person. That next level is doing the physical work. That's next level is being in physical relationship with one another, where we can see each other, where we can give each other a hug if needed, a handshake, see how people are feeling from their body language and their facial expressions, so that we can truly care for one another. You're looking at me right now on the screen, but you don't know what's going on. You don't know if I'm shaking my leg vigorously because I'm nervous. You don't know if I'm tapping my hands on the desk because I'm agitated. You don't know what's going on. And so as much as this relationship is, or you think that you know how I'm feeling right now because you're seeing my face, you have no clue. And unfortunately, that's what's going on with one another when we're dealing with ourselves in relationship, whether it be the church or whether it be with others. In reality, we have no clue. When I see somebody on a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or in a place of work or whatever, I can't tell if they're okay or they're not. I can't pull them to the side and say, well, I noticed that you looked a little agitated and I need to make sure that you're okay. I can't go and help you with your mental health. I can't do the things that I need to do. And I think that we need to take a serious and hard look at the consequences of our actions when it's come to not worshiping in person. Look at the consequences of our actions when it's come to pulling back on some of our ministries because we want to be safe. There's been some food pantries that pulled back. Not the major food pantries, but some of these smaller food pantries and food houses that were at some of these ministries and churches, and they closed them out. You got to look at the consequences of the things that we've done and the things that we did the last go round, and make sure that those consequences are different this time. It's extremely problematic. And so this is our second chance. This is our second chance to be, as some older people have said, be strong in the Lord. I feel this is our second chance to be strong in the Lord against this pandemic, to be brave and to have courage against this pandemic, to have faith when we're dealing with this pandemic, and to step out here and make sure that we, even if the pandemic gets worse, even if this monkeypox turns into something, even when the next pandemic comes and turns into something, that the church is going to be the ones who are going to make sure that we do the things that we need to do to protect people's mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, and most importantly, their spiritual health. And we have to do that in person. All right. Well, if we don't have any more comments, that was it. That was the conversation for the day. I appreciate the comments that came in. We honestly need to make sure that as the numbers change, honestly need to make sure that we do what we need to do. We don't want to see any more people struggle because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. We don't want to see the mental health situations and just emotional health situations and people losing their spiritual faith because we're not doing what we're supposed to do. That is a powerful statement. There are major consequences for our actions or lack of action. Yes. That's exactly where we are today. That's exactly where we are today. We have to take an honest assessment as the church, as people of faith. And even those who might be listening or who are not a part of the church or not people of faith or people of a different faith. What has our lack of being able to be together resulted in? And I believe a lot of the negative consequences of what has gone on has shown themselves. And it's because of us choosing not to be bold, not to be a little risky, not to be brave, and not to continue to go out here and do the work that we're supposed to do. All right. Well, like always, thank you for the comments. And as always, please continue to join us. Continue to make comments. Continue to join the conversation as we continue on this journey of having intelligent conversation on Impact 2022. Again, we're always here at 8 o'clock on Tuesdays. If you want to see us live on Facebook and YouTube. And also at 7 o'clock on Thursdays, we have Thursday Thirst. And 10 o'clock on every Sunday, we have worship service here at Amani Christian Ministries. Thank you. My name is Nathaniel. It's Impact 2022. Have a good one. And please join us again next week.